Martin. I recently heard your podcast with Steve Kanan and was very fond of it, but from a German perspective, I would like to argue a bit against the universal freedom of speech chant you both so happily agreed upon. Freedom of speech surely is a powerful and necessary concept, and it has its merits, but it is not as simple as it seems. Nobody has total freedom of speech, as there always are restrictions. Public libel and slander are illegal everywhere and cannot be justified by arguing freedom of speech. Stakes may be high to prove it, but Anglo-Saxon and especially U.S. justice make it easy to claim threatening financial compensations. This risk alone may lead to a kind of preemptive censorship, which in effect is contradicting freedom of speech. In contrast, most Central European justice systems have broader legal limitations and may be more willing to dispute statements in speech or writing, but penalties for breaking those laws begin very low, a few €100 fine, and compensations are only rarely awarded on an also low basis, taking only proven damages into account. Severe sentences are very rare, but possible if a person or an organization stubbornly doesn't refrain from repeating such acts again and again. On this basis, Central European countries have laws against defamatory hate speech directed upon minorities, religious, ethnical, gender, etc., which I deem prudent. For me and probably most Europeans, such arguments are a kind of libel or slander against a group of people instead of a single person or a business or entity. Isn't it a bit curious that in the Anglo-Saxon justice, a business or a so-called church has more rights to defend itself than a minority of humans? In Germany, Austria, and for weird reasons I don't know, Switzerland and Spain, those or similar laws also specifically prohibit National Socialist propaganda and Holocaust denial, with some countries also regulating display of a few National Socialist emblems like swastikas. I understand this out of history, but I'm no big fan of this legislation as it naturally bears the hallmarks of cementing truth by statute. Nevertheless, I do support the idea to limit freedom of speech if it is used to defame individuals, entities, or clearly defined groups of people. And in my critical thinking, I don't see plausible arguments to feel our overall freedom limited by that. I would be interested in your thoughts. Okay, freedom of speech. Yeah, nothing slippery here. On this issue, I pretty much just go back to John Stuart Mill. He is the master of the whole concept of freedom of speech, as far as I'm concerned, and what he wrote about it is pretty much where I come from on it. I personally believe that when a public figure has a platform that is significant and matters and is going to influence people, that they don't have the right to just stand there and lie. They certainly do not have the right to tell destructive lies that influence people or get people riled up and want to commit violence against the targets of that speech, right? And I think here, of course, to the Alex Jones types or politicians who use their platforms to incite hatred against other groups of people who they disagree with for some reason, or have decided arbitrarily to make a target out of in order to distract from some other issue that they don't want anybody paying attention to, so they create a situation. And that happens all the time. So, are we all at each other's throats for very good reasons, or are we being actively lied to? I think there are responsibilities that public figures have to tell the truth, as they know it, but I think that's problematic, and yet how do you enforce that, right? Not sure how that works. So all I can say is that's kind of how I think of my responsibilities and what other people's responsibilities should be as public figures. Libel and slander against other individuals, that should take care of a lot of that. If you can prove it, and two, public figures, at least in the U.S., I'm not sure exactly precisely how the laws work. I couldn't explain in detail what the mechanics of this are, but I do know that, if you are an acknowledged public figure with a platform and people are going to listen to you just because of who you are or what you do, then the laws are loosened quite a bit about what can be said about you. by others and not fall under libel or slander. So maybe there's some solutions in that in tweaking some of that as well, because I don't know that just because somebody's a public figure that they should be lied about, or that violence should be incited against them, or right. So maybe there's some tweaking that could be done here, and I agree that tweaking is necessary because I agree that regulation of free speech is necessary. It shouldn't be that any single thing that you want to have come out of your mouth in any context at any time should be okay, because there are times when it's definitely not. It's not socially acceptable, it's not morally acceptable, or in some cases it is illegal. And I think that those kind of laws are going to change and should change over time as contexts change, as cultures change, as meaning changes. You know, the 7 bad words you used to not be able to say on TV, I think there's only 1 or 2 left on that list, because times have changed, right? If we were going to make a new list of names that you would never, ever, ever be allowed to say on TV, it'd probably be a different set of 7 words, right? So we should have the ability to update our regulations and laws, and we do. And anyway, I'm just saying that that's a natural thing. So commenting on any specific words or things like that are problematic, well, check back in a year or 2 or 3 or 10, and it'll be quite different. So anyway, I don't know. Those are just some comments on free speech. Thanks for listening to my diatribe.